Let's start on this side. You never know how far reaching something you may think, say, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. It's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. Get the idea, and all as follows. Very first time I read that in chiropractic college, and since then, every time I hear it, read it, or recite it, makes me think of heroes. Heroes affect eternity. They save lives. They affect lives. How many people in here have seen the movie Rudy? Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. Rudy is a great movie. It's an inspirational movie. If you haven't seen it, Rudy is a hero. A young man who wasn't strong enough, who wasn't talented enough, who wasn't big enough to play football, let alone for Notre Dame. An inspirational movie, and the journey, he ends up playing football for only 3 plays and 28 seconds. I just recently watched a movie with my 9-year-old son, Jacob. And Jacob loves looking up people and reading biographies, so we looked them up. And Rudy's got an inspirational story and inspirational life. But what's really more inspirational is the story of his daughter. His daughter sang in a choir and was given the honor of singing the national anthem at the LA Lakers game. So Rudy drove his daughter to the Staples Center, and they got there 2 hours early. And they're the only ones who could see the entire place except one person, Kobe Bryant. Now, if you know Kobe, he's one of the greatest basketball players of our times. I know some of you might say LeBron, but hey. So Rudy turns to his daughter and says, "Hey, you want to meet Kobe?" So they start walking, and as they're getting closer, security stops them. Obviously, that's not going to stop Rudy. So Rudy turns to Kobe and says, "Hey, Kobe, it's Rudy." "Rudiger?" "Yes." Kobe proceeds to tell Rudy that when he was in high school, he would come home every day and watch the movie over and over and over again. He says, "I thought to myself, if a man with no talent can work so hard and achieve what you did, imagine what would happen with someone who has talent." He says, "Because of you that I'm here tonight 2 hours early practicing." When I think of Rudy, I think of Ernie. Ernie's a hero. I know you've heard him tell a story how Reggie's car broke down. You've heard the story? And he volunteered to drive him around. And for 2.5 years, he would drive Reggie from one end of the state to the other end. 3 hours each time. See, I believe you and I are sponges. I think what Rudy was doing, what Kobe was doing, what Ernie were doing, they're sponging inspiration. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Look, this in here, this represents short-sightedness. This represents negativity. This represents coming from a place of lack. This is being subluxated. This is a tax in our profession. This over here, this is what represents life. This represents motivation. This represents inspiration. This represents chiropractic. These are our principles. You see what I believe Kobe was doing every time? He was sponging inspiration a little more. I believe that's what Ernie was doing, sponging a little inspiration a little more. My question for you is that, what are you sponging? What I want to do tonight, over the next few minutes, I want to talk about what's been my observation of being a chiropractic servant. Because I believe Ernie was a servant, and I know there are so many chiropractic servants in this room. I know there are a ton of chiropractic servants that's going to be here this weekend. See, what I've seen and what I've noticed is that to be a chiropractic servant, your purpose has to be greater than your ego. As I travel around the country and observe chiropractors and chiropractic offices, one of the reasons that more chiropractors are not being successful and having a bigger impact and helping more people is because they have big egos. See, there's a group of chiropractors who do a little well in practice. They get a little busy. They do well. They start seeing more patients. And then all of a sudden, they start getting an ego. And their egos get so big that the only thing they listen to is their own opinion. And there's another group of chiropractors. They're maybe in practice for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and they're still struggling. They're barely making it in practice. Every day is where they're going to stay in or stay out. They can't meet their overhead. They don't have good business practices. But what happens with them is their ego is so big that they're not willing to ask for help. It's like this. You come into a seminar like this in New Beginnings. You come to be a sponge, to sponge inspiration, to sponge wisdom, and maybe grow your practices and be a servant. But what happens, you come in here and you put your brain inside of a bag, which I call an ego bag. And you come in here to be a sponge, but you can't be a sponge because you can't absorb anything. You see, servants like Ernie, they're on purpose. They're humble. They have no ego. And you know how, in my opinion, why that happens, how you end up letting go of your ego? Is when you get dipped, when you get anchored to our principles. The body is a self-healing, self-regulating mechanism. Innate is in constant contact with every cell, every tissue, every second of life. You and I know how to locate subluxations, we know how to analyze them, and we know how to correct them. And when we do that, the body heals. To be a servant, we got to get anchored, and we got to let go of the ego. So let me hear you say it. Let it go. Come on, let it go. The second attribute of being a chiropractic servant is that we have to recognize that we have an obligation to our profession. Do you agree with me that our model of practice, the way we practice in this room, is under attack? Would you agree with that? Yes? What's going on right now in Australia, right? Or what's happened with our ability to want to take x-rays? My question for you is, what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? I know there are a lot of chiropractors, and there's a lot of you in this room that are involved, but there are a group of chiropractors who all they think about is their own practice, their own patients. Not in this room, I know that, but that's what's happening. See, as some of you might know, I have 7 practices. 12 chiropractors working in our practices. 40 people. And I'm busy. I don't like saying I'm busy. I like to say I'm on a mission. I get a call from ICA, hey, well, why don't you go to China for a month? Okay, I'll do that. And I feel so blessed to be able to leave the practices. I know they're not going to crash when I leave. I get a call from Sherman Board, hey, we want you to serve on the Board of Trustees. Okay, I'll do that. I get a call, we want you to get involved in the state boards and serve on the state board. All right, I'll do it. We need some financial help. Can you write a check? Okay, I'll do that. But when I do that, I think about people like Ernie. He dedicated his entire life to our profession. Where's Patty Giuliano? I reached out to you a couple days ago and I asked, do you know how many students Ernie sent to chiropractic college? Do you know what the number was? What have you heard? Do you guys know what the number is? On average, what is it? Over 140 students, 150 students? I was thinking about this for a moment. If every single one of us in here were to send 150 students to chiropractic colleges, what would that mean? If you were to send 150 to Sherman, if you were to send 150 to Life, what would that mean for our profession? Would that be in a better place? Yes? BJ said we're being directed to elevate the mental consciousness of the planet. Look, you and I in this room know that chiropractic is more than back and neck pain. We know that chiropractic is more than punching the backbone. Chiropractic is about helping our patients to realize their full health potential. We're applying a sacred principle. We're carrying out a scientific practice, and we're obtaining measurable results. Look around this room. Look at the intellectual capital that's in this room. It's incredible. So let's utilize our mental capacities. Let's embrace our physical abilities, and let's fulfill this obligation that we have. Obligation to humanity and obligation to our profession. Because that's what Ernie did. Here's a third attribute of being a chiropractic servant. We have to get better at business. For whatever reason, I hear this from people that if you're a chiropractic servant, you have to be anti-business. I don't understand why. I don't know why they would say that. It doesn't make sense to me. Last year in our offices, we delivered over 140,000 adjustments. Thank you. You know, when it comes to business, one of my greatest mentors was my father. He said, hey, listen, if you were to analyze the most successful businesses, and regardless of which industry they're in, whether it's health, whether it's telecommunication, whether it's automotive, you'll see that they have certain things that they follow. And if you do that and apply in your practice, you'll grow. So I did. Look, we got to get better at putting processes in our practices. You can't let your practice be depending on you all the time. Because what happens when you go away? Your practice goes away. We have to be better at recruiting the right people in our practices so we can put them in there, train them, so they can do better and run the practice. We have to get better at branding. We have to be better at managing our practices based on data, not just emotions. Raise your hands if you did all that. You'll be able to serve more people. Is that true? Look, over the years, especially in the past few years, I've get a lot of calls from people coming in and saying, listen, we want to know what you're doing that's working so well. Can you share it with us? So I invite them to come to our office, and over the years, people start coming and spending time in the office. So I decided to create something called a Discovery Day. Well, a Discovery Day is that we have you come into our office and spend a whole day in the office. We open up our operation manuals. We're over 1,000 pages long. We show you everything. We have you meet our key executives. You get to meet our chief operating officer. You get to meet our marketing director. You can ask him anything you want. You can even go into the office and see how our doctors are caring for patients. I can tell you that every single person that's ever come into the office and gone through Discovery Day, at the end of the day, they come and shake my hand and say, that was one of the most amazing things I've ever been to. It's blown their mind away. So what I want to do, I want you to think about this. I want you to be a sponge, and I want to have you come in and be a sponge for a day, if you like. If you want to see what a successful practice looks like and feels like. If you're interested, there's my number. Text me. Put your name and email address, and we'll invite you. We'll even fly you in. We'll put you in a hotel if we have to. I'm doing this because it's a sense of obligation that I feel like we need to make ourselves better in every aspect of our profession. Last June, I spent a month in China. And it was one of the most amazing experiences. The days were very busy. I was either speaking or adjusting. In that month, I must have adjusted over 3,000 people. And the whole time, there would be a videographer and a photographer and my translator there videoing and taking pictures, and there would be a group of people watching if I was adjusting. There was a night that I was adjusting probably till past midnight. And as usual, the photographer is there, videographer is there, they're taking pictures, a bunch of people watching, and all of a sudden the room cleared up. The videographer left, photographer left, all I was left, it was me and a translator. I thought maybe it was done, we were ready to go home. But in walks in a man with a full military uniform with 5 stars on his shoulder. It was a general, and they said, when a general is here to get adjusted, we can't take any pictures. So I put him on the table, and I adjusted him, and I was so fired up. He gets up, and I tap him on the shoulder. I said, 1.4 billion people in your country. Imagine if we can take this thing chiropractic and make it available to all the people of China. He takes a step back. He starts staring at me. I thought to myself, oh, crap. I shouldn't have done that to this general. Takes his phone out, starts making a phone call, And the translator says that he's calling what they call a chief medical officer of a hospital because he wants to come and talk to you. 15 minutes later, the guy comes in and says, I want you in our hospital tomorrow. I want you to adjust our patients there. I said, I got a flight to catch. He goes, doesn't matter. I want you there at 7 o'clock. When a Chinese general says you're going to a place, you're going to a place. So we showed up the next morning, and I want to show you a video. I took my phone out, and it was just very candid, and I took a video. I want to show you what happened inside the hospital.
Good morning, good morning. This is Friday, June 24th. I've been invited to come in here and adjust patients by the chief executive officer and the chief medical officer of the hospital. And I'm so honored to be delivering chiropractic adjustments to the people of China for the first time, at least at this setting in this hospital. I know that we're going to be adjusting a bunch of kids and babies and a lot of sick people that have never, ever heard about chiropractic, and they don't know what chiropractic could do for their lives. I got goosebumps, I'm excited, I'm emotional. This is their x-ray department, and I know I'm going to be sending some patients here to get some films to make sure to give them specific chiropractic adjustments. On the second floor, they're setting up the special area, what they call specialty clinic area. They're set up a table there for us. I'm about to get started. Yesterday, I was adjusting people till past midnight. I must have adjusted over 300 people. And I know it's going to be the same thing today. Hospital, and I'm about to deliver an adjustment to this gentleman. I've ordered some x-rays. We are going to do an x-ray analysis before we adjust them, and the x-ray tech is positioning him. Go ahead, please. Okay.
请继续。
And he's going to do right on you. He's got it. We're going to analyze the x-rays, and we'll come back and do it.
Professor Karlos is drawing a line.
So this is the picture we took from the side of your spine. Now these in here are the vertebrae. This is the picture we took from the front. This is the picture we took from the front of this. Okay? This line that I drew in here shows where your spine is supposed to be. There's a 5 millimeters difference from left to right. Has anyone ever explained this to you before like this? No. Okay. So tell them the nerves that come from this part of the spine, they all.
医生啦，妇产科医生。
Where is the doctor?
然后你有什么问题？
What kind of doctor?
So one of our health is taught.
Thank you. Thank you. The reason I'm showing you that video is because to be a chiropractic servant, we have to serve everywhere and all the time. I know that's what Ernie did. Thank you. Let's get out there and serve more people.